Waters, Marvin Devine, Huber, Axel, and you know how we do. Yeah, I got the juice. Whip game cool, make them look like cool. Always play it cool, that's the biggest rule. Forget what they doing, keep on doing that. I've been making loot since like 22. Ask me how I made it right here in the booth. I'm always pursued cause of what I pursue. That's greatness, yeah, I gotta make it, I got things to lose. Boy, you wanna get in my crew, but you can't get in my crew. Me, Axel, and Huber way too fireable. When this joint drop, better call the troops. And when you hear the drop, better raise the roof. Better raise the roof. You already know what happens when we link up. Let's go. Yeah, I got.
All these brothers, my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep waves by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Cold, these brothers, my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep waves by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Ride or die, 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 ride or die. Cold, these brothers, my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep waves by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta ride or die.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Tonight, the show tonight has been inspired by the American Kidney Fund and the Jack Reynolds Memorial Medigap Expansion Act, H.R. 1676, Senate version coming soon. So, most Americans with kidney failure are eligible for Medicare regardless of age. However, those under 65 are eligible for Medicare only as their primary insurance due to their end-stage renal disease status. For those under 65, Medicare only pays 80% of your outpatient-related expenses like dialysis, and the other 20% needs to be covered by independent insurance like Medigap or Medicare Advantage or your own private insurance. Otherwise, you're on your own. Federal law stipulates that Medigap insurers must offer plans to all beneficiaries over 65 and over, but state law dictates Medigap policy for beneficiaries under 65. There are currently 20 states in which Medigap providers are not required to offer Medigap plans to end-stage renal disease Medicare beneficiaries under the age of 65, leaving those patients with high out-of-pocket costs. For example, Medicare beneficiaries on dialysis can face out-of-pocket costs in the amount of about $10,000 every year. That's a pretty extreme cost for more than 80% of the people on dialysis who are too sick to work. Additionally, end-stage renal disease Medicare beneficiaries are required to have supplemental insurance in order to be added to the kidney transplant waiting list. So you can't even get on the kidney transplant waiting list without adequate insurance. Medicare alone is not considered full coverage by transplant centers across the nation. For most Medicare beneficiaries, Medigap is their secondary insurance. Without access to Medigap plans, end-stage renal disease Medicare beneficiaries under 65 cannot access kidney transplantation. That is the best treatment option for people with kidney failure because it increases their chances for a longer life. The proposed Medigap Expansion Act requires states to make Medigap plans available to all those under 65. So tonight, our good friend Mel Tuff is back with us to discuss her experiences with this issue. As you'll recall, Mel was on with the show with us last year to discuss pre-transplant deposits because she fell into that 20% donut hole. So she's back tonight as a person under 65. We don't want to make Mel over 65, under 65, who's been able to obtain supplemental insurance. So let's hear what Mel has to say. Steve, start the show. Hey, Mel, how you doing?
Great, Uncle Jim. How are you?
Good, good. Welcome back. Thank you for taking time to speak with us again. Did I get all the information in the introduction right?
You absolutely did.
All right, let's go back to 1996 when
Sure.
you were first diagnosed with end-stage renal disease and had started dialysis treatments. You were living in Michigan at that time, correct?
Correct.
All right, and what was the status of your health insurance at that point in time?
So at the time, I was on my mother's Blue Cross Blue Shield plan because I was still under 18. And then I eventually qualified for Medicare after a period of time of being on dialysis. So then Medicare became my primary and the Blue Cross became my secondary. I was also eligible for Medicaid because I was still a child, obviously. So I actually had 3 different insurances and had the issue with the dialysis company not being able, they were having a lot of issues figuring out who to bill for what and in what order. So I had the problem of being overinsured, which you don't typically hear too much about.
Okay. From the prior interview, we know that when you were diagnosed in July of 1996 at the age of 17, you were in a hospital for over a month before you began dialysis in an adult dialysis center. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and as a result of your health issues, you sought and received a kidney transplant from the University of Michigan on October 7th, 2005.
That's correct also, yes.
I have the right date? Okay. And after 11 years with your kidney, the kidney rejected, and you were in the hospital for a month at that period of time. All right, and that was a tough period in your life. As a result of being in the hospital for a month, you lost your job, your house, your car, and all at the same time you went through a divorce. Am I right about that also?
Yes, yes. There was a lot going on during that time, and my employer was unfortunately not very compassionate to my issue. So yeah, I was let go from my job, which having a health problem and going through all of that, it was difficult to just get motivated to go find another job right away. And it wasn't, it didn't take long to get behind on my house payment, which was $1,200 a month. And as the sole source of income, that obviously put a strain on my marriage. And so basically that was the last thing that kind of fell apart. So yeah, very difficult time. So that was when I made my decision to get out of Dodge and start over somewhere else. And I moved to Florida.
So you moved to Florida to be with your dad in Florida, right?
Yeah. The idea was that he was going to kind of help me out and let me stay there for, you know, an interim period until I found something in Florida and found a job and everything like that. Because it was very quick progression of just leave, because I actually just left my house because it was foreclosed at that point. So there wasn't like a huge planning process of moving. It was very abrupt. And so I had done some looking into, because when my kidney started to reject, the University of Michigan told me with my blood type and antibodies that I would probably wait about 14 years for another kidney. So at that point, I had started investigating moving to Florida anyways, because the list in Florida was actually supposed to be 5 to 7 years, which is obviously significantly less than 14. And having waited 9 years for my first kidney, as you can imagine, I was a little impatient and couldn't see myself waiting 14 years for another one. So,
okay. Since you still had family in Michigan, you planned on keeping a double residency and listing in both states, thinking that this would increase your chances of getting a kidney. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. Originally, that's what University of Michigan had encouraged me to do, because dual listing obviously increases your chances. And having family in Michigan, it was going to allow me to continue to stay on the list there. However, when I left Michigan, and was not able to obtain a secondary insurance, I was actually forced to withdraw my status at the University of Michigan due to not having a secondary insurance payer.
Okay. And I just wanted to remind everybody, you're a high antibody patient. You're not an easy match.
Correct. I am 97% sensitized. So basically, you know, my PRA is 97, which puts me in a very high percentile and at a high risk for rejection.
Okay. The University of Michigan Hospital, where you were originally listed, they then informed you that due to the move and only having Medicare and the failure to have secondary insurance like Medicaid in Michigan, that you would be unable to list with them. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Not for their lack of support. However, they were, she had actually informed me that in the state of Michigan, the NKF has been so proficient in what they have done as far as supporting kidney patients that there is actually a plan specifically for kidney patients in Michigan that they can obtain a secondary. And if I'm not mistaken, she said it was through Blue Cross Blue Shield, and it's for ESRD patients. So she had informed me if I hadn't relocated, having a secondary in Michigan wouldn't have been a problem because there's a plan specifically in place for that. However, in Florida, there is not. You're kind of just on your own.
Okay. So it's my understanding you attempted to get a secondary coverage in Florida, but you made too much money. You made $15 too much. Wasn't that the deal?
Yeah, I make $15 too much. And this was at the time I was only getting Social Security disability, and my disability was $15 too much for me to qualify for Medicaid. And then the University of Michigan social worker had set up some conference calls with me and an insurance agent. So the three of us were on the line with insurance agents from Florida. seeking a secondary plan where I would just pay whatever the insurance price was going to be out of pocket. And then also, the Kidney Foundation does assist with secondary insurance plans. So we were hoping that I could get qualified for something like that down here and either get assistance with the payment for it, or I would just have to suck it up and pay for it myself. However, all three of the companies that we had the conference calls with, even at their highest tier plan, which I believe with the highest one was $900 a month for just the secondary, they would not approve me because I had a pre-existing condition and I was currently insured. And so in the state of Florida, legally they can use pre-existing conditions as a method of denial for secondary insurances. If you have a primary, they can't use it against you, or if you don't have a primary, they can't use it against you and against getting a initial plan. But if you do have a primary in place, they can use it to deny you for a secondary.
Yeah, and as I understand it, in Florida, you were assigned something called a share cost, or a cost of share, almost, what was it, $1,300, $14 a month, in order to cover you. Can you talk to us about that a little bit?
So my share of costs initially, and this was when I was first going through the listing process for the second time with Tampa General, my share of cost was $1,314 a month, meaning that I had to pay that much out of pocket before Medicaid would start picking anything up. So I typically only fall into that $1,300 category when I have a hospitalization or a major surgery or something like that. But on my day-to-day medical expenses, including dialysis, I don't spend $1,300 a month in expenses. So I really don't qualify for Medicaid essentially, but with the share of costs, they can still say that I do qualify for it, but only if something basically terrible happens that makes me have to be in the hospital for a week or so.
Okay. You did seek a transplant while you were in Florida, correct?
Correct. I have been on the list in Florida here for coming up on 6 years. I'm actually listed with 2 hospitals here. And of the 2, when I went for my evaluation at the second hospital, Cleveland Clinic, they actually said that they hadn't heard of someone having to fundraise to get on the transplant list, nor would they have required me to. However, Tampa General has different requirements for listing, and apparently that was part of their financial requirements, was that I was able to show that I could meet 6 months of my share of cost, in addition to the $4,700 donut hole in my prescription coverage.
So they were requiring you at Tampa General to have a deposit on file of $12,584 at all times in order to keep you on the transplant list. We talked about that as a pre-transplant deposit the last time that we met.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have to maintain that, which obviously, as you can imagine, in 6 years, I've accrued some medical debt. So I've had to submit some expenses against that fund. But that's also why I pretty much continually fundraise, so that I know I'm trying to at least keep that or something better in that account. So when my call comes, they don't have a reason to deny me because I don't have the money.
Okay. You work with a group, Help Hope Love. Did I get the name right?
Help Hope Live.
Live. Okay. You knew Uncle Jim on Monday. Tell us how they helped you to raise funds.
Sure. Help Hope Live was amazing because I initially started my fundraising with GoFundMe, because that's kind of the go-to for everybody that's doing any sort of medical fundraising, and everyone kind of recommends you there. And having not really done any personal fundraising prior to this, and not having family in the area, I kind of felt like I would just never be able to raise $12,000. And so going with GoFundMe initially, you know, I was getting $100 here, $50 here. And then I started speaking with my social worker, and she informed me that GoFundMe could actually be counted against me and would further disqualify me from getting Medicaid, because it can be used as income, because I'm getting a check. So technically it's like I'm getting paid even though I'm putting the money aside for a transplant. And so I started looking into other ideas as far as, you know, even creating my own nonprofit, because I really didn't know where to go. And through, I want to say I found them through Google or something. And I reached out to them. They informed me they have people who, I'm trying to think of what they're called again. But they basically will assist you with creating your campaign, with making your page, everything. They'll design flyers for events. They'll help you just kind of come up with ideas for different events that you could do. And I was actually lucky enough that when all of this was happening, I had just started a new spiritual center, and they had an event coming up that they did like quarterly fundraisers regularly anyways. So they had already had a Halloween party on the agenda. And so they approached me actually and asked if they could designate the funds from that to my transplant. And so in doing so, we created a silent auction and a few other things. And because I was operating under Help Hope Live's nonprofit umbrella, I was able to go out and solicit for larger ticket items, like golf trips and things like that, you know, things that were like $400 or $500. And they would get a tax credit for it, which is not like GoFundMe. Anybody that donates, you can't write that off on your taxes because there's not really a way to prove that it's going towards a legitimate expense. And whereas Help Hope Live, all the medical expenses and the medical need is verified. So you can't have people that are fundraising for false circumstances on Help Hope Live. It's a guarantee that the money is going towards what it's supposed to go towards. So it made soliciting donations much easier than it did just sharing something on Facebook or asking people to contribute to a GoFundMe, because there's an incentive behind it that people will get a tax credit for 100% of what they donate. So I actually was able to raise the $12,000 within about 3 months.
All right. Talk about your experience with DaVita dialysis and how much you got stuck with.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I actually have my DaVita bill right here. I was just looking at it. My last bill from dialysis from 1/1 of 2019 to 1/1 of 2020 was $8,596.49. So, and that bill is just sitting here, and it's been sitting here obviously for a year now because, you know, 8,000 will take a huge chunk out of my Help Hope Live account. So I can't really afford to even send this in for them to pay. And the way that DaVita treated me at the end, I sort of, I'm not in any kind of hurry to pay them, to be honest with you, because I know that I was just a number, and they did get 80% of this $8,500 already. And now they're just trying to bleed me dry basically and take the last 9,000, you know. And so I'm not in any kind of rush to pay it. And it's funny because even on here, they have it listed that my secondary is Medicaid Florida, but they would refuse to bill Medicaid. And I had explained to them that if they would bill Medicaid, or at least submit it, that, you know, $700-800 a month adds up on top of my other medical expenses, and that I would probably qualify for Medicaid if they would just submit these bills, and they never would. They refused.
Okay. Tell us now, Melissa, what is your current transplant listing status? You mentioned the 2 places where you're listed. Tell us what's going on with that.
So I am listed at 2 hospitals, Tampa General and Cleveland Clinic, which they've been like restructuring the regions. And so I actually just found out that they're both in the same region. So it's not even like being listed at 2 hospitals. However, I did have a living donor who did an advanced donation in August of, oh gosh, it's almost been 2 years now. So August of 2019. And we were actually told upon doing the advanced donation that they would probably have a kidney for me within 3 to 6 months. And as I mentioned, it's now April, almost 2 years later, and I still have no kidney. So the main reason that I'm still affiliated with Cleveland Clinic was because I actually just felt more comfortable with their facility as opposed to Tampa General, and the fact that they were not going to require me to actually have the $12,000 in an account was a huge deal for me too. So personally, I hope my call comes from Cleveland Clinic if I had to choose from the two. But Tampa General was my main source of listing, so I've technically been on the list longer with them than I have Cleveland Clinic.
Okay. When you're talking about an advanced donation, are you talking about paired donation, kind of a donor swap situation?
Yes, that was exactly what happened. Her intention was to donate to me, and then obviously when she didn't match, she wanted to see how she could still help, and so she committed to doing a paired exchange. They lined her kidney up, and her kidney spurred off 8 other transplants. So 9 people got kidneys, which is great. And in order to do that, and before anybody's antibodies could change, they required her to do an advanced donation. So essentially it just got me a voucher for a kidney from the National Kidney Registry. So I've actually been talking to my new coordinator recently, because obviously I'm a little frustrated that we were told 3 to 6 months, and it's been almost 2 years now. And she's also very frustrated because she also signed this paperwork on the assumption that I was getting a kidney in 3 to 6 months. And now she just feels like she hasn't helped me at all. And so she's having a lot of guilt with, just the fact that she feels like she maybe should have just held out and said, no, I'm not giving you my kidney until you match somebody to her. And then maybe they would have been a little more pressured to do so, because it's, I haven't even been able to I called 3 times last week and couldn't get a call back from my coordinator. But when we were in the process of going through this, if either one of us called, we'd get a call back in 10, 15 minutes. So it's kind of like we've been put on the back burner since they've already got her kidney, and it's not like she can ask for it back now. So
if somebody wanted to contribute to help you at Help Hope Live, I got it right that time, right? Okay. The link that you sent to me is in the comments to this broadcast. So if somebody wants to help out or contribute to Mel, the link is in the comments. The other thing that I shared in the comments is the link to your Facebook page, Mel's Hope. Can you tell us a little bit about Mel's Hope?
So Mel's Hope actually started as Mel Needs a Kidney, because that was kind of like my little theme. And I had a website, and that was when I was looking for a living donor. And once I found the girl who did the paired exchange, I decided to sort of reframe that and turn it into more of a page that was just offering help to anyone. And Mel's Hope really just stands for, my hope is that no one would ever have to fundraise to get a life-saving organ transplant. And my hope is that in the future, we won't even have to do transplants, because we're so advanced that we have the bionic kidney or whatever other medical means necessary to avoid having to go through this very traumatic and painstaking process. So, as we all kind of grow and change and embrace the conditions that we're given, so did my website and my intention and my mission. It shifted from a self-focused type of idea to a more broadened and expansive idea of just supporting and helping everyone. And, because I think I feel like, I'm in line where I need to be, and I know that I'll get the perfect organ at the perfect time, just like I did when I waited 9 years the first time. It really was a perfect organ, and it lasted me a very long time. So I'm certainly grateful for that. However, dialysis is not ideal, and I am impatient, but I just definitely know that all is in perfect timing, and it's all going to happen when it happens. So I'd rather just shift my focus to other people.
Okay, just to make things clear, again, because I know we've had you on before, you're doing PD dialysis, peritoneal dialysis at home. No, you're not.
No, I'm doing solo home hemo now.
That's right.
Yeah. I had to get off of peritoneal because I ended up with peritonitis for a second time. And that was also why I ended up leaving DaVita, because they didn't believe me when I told them that I had peritonitis, and they let it go for a couple extra days, and it wound up turning into an abscessed infection in my catheter. So I had to have 3 sections of my stomach cut out, or my abdomen, I should say, not my stomach, because that's obviously a different organ. But yeah, so I had 3 pieces of my abdomen cut out due to DaVita's lack of urgency and care. So
okay, and just for the record, you are under 65 years of age.
Correct. Yeah, I'll be 42 in July.
Okay, and is there anything that I have not asked you about tonight that you would like to discuss with us on this situation with your supplemental or lack of supplemental insurance?
Not particularly. I mean, I think that moving this expansion act along is just so important, because more and more younger people are affected by kidney disease, and to have this challenge, it's not something else we need on top of what we're already dealing with. Having to worry about how you're going to pay for your medications or your treatments is it's really not at the forefront of your mind when you're kind of fighting for your life every day. And to put a price tag on somebody's life and say, like, this is how much you're worth in order for us to give you a transplant, or even for us to consider, because we all know how many people die waiting for transplants. So, I had to go through all the trouble of doing this fundraising and the stress of doing this fundraising. And what's to say I don't make it to get a kidney? I mean, that's the scary reality of the whole thing, is that they put me through all this additional stress and worry, and it may be for nothing, because, that kidney might not come because I'm so highly sensitized. But, I have faith in knowing that I will get it. But I do know that, I've been a part of advocacy groups and peer mentoring and stuff like that for so long, that I have definitely had people in my life that I was very close to that gave up for that main reason, because they were told they had to have a certain amount before they could get a transplant and things like that. And they just felt that task was insurmountable. And it's a terrible thing to see your friend give up because of a dollar sign. It's terrible that this is where we're at as a civilized country, as what we proclaim to be the best country in the world. And yet we have people who are literally giving up on life because they're placed with a price tag on their head, and it's sad. It's really sad. So
one of the things that you're kind of an expert in now is fundraising, helping people raise money. I know you've expressed to me that you're willing to help other people. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I have talked about Help Hope Live so much that I am actually an ambassador for them now. So I have little business cards that I give out to people, because it's not just transplants that they help with. They actually do catastrophic illness and injuries. So people with spinal cord injuries, people that have been born with cerebral palsy or muscular dystrophy, or, any of the myriad of conditions that essentially come with a lifetime of costs, they can help you fundraise for. They're even doing stuff with people who have COVID, because, we don't know the long-term effects of someone who's recovered from COVID, and they're going to have medical expenses down the road. So I've just been in awe of the work that they've done. And because they're so passionate, and they were actually created by the, I believe it was the wife of a transplant surgeon who had seen patients that were struggling with medical costs and stuff. And so they created this organization, and they've been around for a long time, but unfortunately people just don't really know too much about them. And so I have just been a huge proponent of them. So they invited me to be an ambassador, and anybody who needs some information or would like some support on how to fundraise with them, I am happy to pass along information, names of people that you can work with that are really great within the organization. Not that anyone is better than anyone, but I do know the people that I've worked with personally. So I'm happy to recommend them. I'm happy to share stuff and to brainstorm ideas for fundraisers, because a lot of times thinking outside the box or just having someone else to like spitball ideas off of is helpful. And so, like I said, anybody that is interested in working with them, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to give you any information that you could possibly need. And I do have information on hand as well that I'm happy to email people or send it through Messenger, or however you prefer to receive it. Because like I said, as opposed to GoFundMe with the fees, and beyond the fact that they count you as income and you could possibly have to pay taxes on it, and it's not technically a nonprofit, so you can't work under their nonprofit umbrella. There's just a million things that I could list that put Help Hope Live above and beyond any of the other fundraising platforms that I've been familiarized with.
Okay, Mel, I'm going to let you go now. I appreciate you taking time to talk with us, and please keep us updated on what's going on with your transplant and the possible donor switch, and know that we wish you well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been great talking with you.
Great talking with you as always.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. All right, everybody. So as you can see, this is why we need the Jack Reynolds Memorial Medigap Expansion Act, because if you're a younger person and you don't have supplemental insurance, you could fall into that 20% donut hole and have one heck of a bill to pay, as much as $10,000 a month. So I appreciate our friend Mel coming on and talking to us tonight about this issue. I would ask that if you have problems like this, to leave a note in the comments. I'll get you hooked up with somebody from the American Kidney Fund and our good friend Ben Schlesinger, and he can probably direct you or tell you what to do from there. You have Mel's information in the comments already if you need help with fundraising, need advice, any of that sort of thing. If you want to contribute to her fundraiser, please do that. And stuff that's coming up on the 30th of April, I'm going to talk to the great Valen Kiefer. Looking forward to that. Hopefully both of us will be healthy this time so we can have a discussion about the tremendous things that she's done in her advocacy. On the 7th of May, I have scheduled Dr. Ken Suthra. Dr. Ken is not only a PhD type doctor, he's also a medical doctor. He is also a kidney advocate. He is also a research fellow for Kidney Matters. So a lot of ground to cover on May the 7th. Should be very, very interesting. With that, I'm going to let everybody go tonight. You have a good evening, and please share the broadcast. Thank you and good night.
fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Cold, these brothers my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Ride or die, 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 ride or die. Cold, these brothers my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta ride or die.